And tell us a little about, I just love how the two themes come together, as Johann is discovering how deep and wide this is, and then realizing, as you're saying, the arc coming together at the arc of the film, that this is basically in his own family. His dad, his best friend, it's right around him. It's him. It is him. How did you decide to pull this together? Because all of a sudden, when you pull that together, all of a sudden, when you realize in the film, it just hits you right in the chest that this is not a whole story of indicting all of Germany, but it's each one of us that has some type of history that's tied to it one way or another.
Well, that's always a question. When you do a historical film, you have to decide, because I'm a big believer in very classical dramatic structure. And there is two ways: it's an outer plot or an inner plot. It's a character arc or some events. Mm-hmm. Now, the actual history of the trial, and we wanted to tell the history of the trial, was not very dramatic. Mm-hmm. It's not dramatic. Basically, if you talk to the prosecutors, they said, well, Fritz Bauer said do the trial, and we did the trial. It's one sentence. And we want to make a movie out of it. So what we decided to do is to actually, and that's where we also took liberties, that's why he's like a composite of the three prosecutors, to take liberties in the emotional journey. And so we invented this character who's very, very self-righteous, very black and white. He knows what's right and wrong, and he's very sure of himself. And through facing what had actually happened, he breaks down, and he shows, and he realizes how weak he is. He says, I was blind. He says, I don't know what I would have done. And what I like most, well, not most, but what I think is interesting, for example, there is this, what is an essential scene when the Friedberg, the other big wig in this district attorney, yells at him, he said, you want every child to ask himself if his father was a murderer? And he says, yes, that's what I want. And that's a pre-shadowing of something that happened 5 years later in the youth movement in Germany in '68. That's what the question. That's what the special flavor of the German youth movement, that they were looking not only at elders and questioning their authority, they said, you were murderers, or you watched people being murdered. But when his mother tells him his father was a party member, he doesn't believe her. So he does exactly the same thing everybody else does. He's in denial, and he throws her out. And then what makes him, of course, a hero is that then he starts, then he wants to find out. He starts to deny, but he has this dream, and then he goes in the morning, he says, I have to know. And the American guy says, buddy, don't do it, don't go there. And he says, no, I have to know.